Hello everyone, my name is Chaplain Joanne Martindale. I'm the Command Chaplain of the 63rd Readiness Division. Today's devotion is entitled, Making Family Ties Count. I wanted to tell you a story of what happened to me on 9/11. A lot of you will remember where you were during that time. I had two assignments that day. The first one was to go and inform a 10-year-old boy and 9-year-old girl that they lost their mom at Ground Zero. The other one was to inform a woman that she lost her children. So I remember going up to her house. I had a then called chaplain assistant, now religious affairs specialist, with me, and he drove me to the house. And we got to the neighborhood and we parked in front of the house, and there was a long driveway. And I was walking up in my dress blues up to the driveway. And when I started walking up there, I saw a woman come out on her porch, and she says, "Chaplain, how many of my 3 children have died today? They all work in the towers. How many, Chaplain? You wouldn't be here unless one of them had died. Did I lose 1, 2, or 3? And I said, "Ma'am, do you mind if I come up with you and sit on your porch swing?" And she said, "Sure." So I walked up to her swing and I sat with her on the swing. And she said, "Chaplain, how many?" And I said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, all 3. So at that point, she just relaxed her body into my arms, and she couldn't move. And all she was doing is crying and wailing. And I held her the entire time. I didn't say a word for at least an hour. She cried and I held her the entire time. And at the end of that crying, she began to stop. And I was going to hold her for as long as it took. I had no time frame on that. You don't have time frame on grief. It takes as long as it takes. So as I was holding her, she was coming back to not crying. And then she all of a sudden said to me, "Chaplain, do you cook?" And I said, "Do I cook?" "Not well. Why?" And she said, "Because I really want to, make all my kids' favorite meals right now. Would you help me?" And I said, "Sure." So she put an apron over me and she took me into the kitchen, and we made all 3 of her kids' favorite meals. And one was lasagna, and one was fettuccine, and one was meatballs, I think. And she had a kind of a premonition to go earlier that day, or not that day, that week, I think, and buy all her kids' favorite foods. And so we were there for a couple of hours and we were cooking. And as she was cooking, I was chopping. She would be telling me stories about her 3 children, and she'd bring out a picture from this cabinet and a picture from this cabinet, and she'd talk about them. Because you never know what's going to happen in your life. She certainly did not expect that to happen to her that day. But friends, my point is that family ties matter. What happened next after those 2 hours is that her husband came home, and then I told him that his children had died. But then what happened next was even more profound. The community completely enveloped them with their care for them. So they lived in a little brownstone apartment, and all their neighbors were Italian, and they all came over and they all were there for them. Family ties matter. Who we surround ourselves with during times of trials, no matter family or maybe some friends that act as family, maybe family's too far away. Whoever we surround ourselves with, they're family to us. So I would encourage you during this time to find out and know in your heart who those people are for you and reach out to them. Maybe you haven't talked to them in a while. Maybe it's time to talk with them soon, because at some point you may need them just like they need you.